We think of our homes as these safe, solid places, right? There are shelters, protecting us from the outside world. But the truth is, there's a constant battle being waged right under our feet and deep inside our walls. It's a fight between your house and the environment it sits in. And trust me, nowhere is that fight more intense than in your plumbing system.
So let me ask you this, and it might sound a little out there. Is your town at war with your plumbing? I mean, what if the very ground your town is built on, the air you breathe, and even the decade your house was built could be actively trying to destroy your pipes? That's the hidden war we're going to investigate today.
And to really get a handle on these forces, we're going to zoom way in on one specific place, Tucker, Georgia. By digging into the unique challenges homeowners face there, we can actually pull back and see some universal truth that apply to pretty much any home, anywhere, including yours. Okay, so let's meet our first bad guy. This one's silent, it's invisible, and it is quite literally the foundation of the problem. We're talking about the ground your house stands on.
The number one culprit, especially in a place like Tucker, is that famous Georgia red clay. Now, this isn't just any old dirt. It's what's called expansive clay soil. The best way to think about it is like a giant underground sponge. When it gets soaked with rain, it swells up, big time. And when it dries out, it shrinks and cracks.
So how does this actually attack your house? Well, it's this relentless cycle, right? During the wet season, the clay swells, pushing up on your pipes and your foundation. Then when a dry spell hits, it all shrinks back down and everything settles. This constant movement, this up and down, puts a massive amount of stress on rigid pipes like copper, bending them again and again until, snap, they break.
And the direct result of this ground-level warfare, something called a slab leak. We're talking about tiny little pinhole leaks in the water lines that run underneath your concrete slab foundation. You probably won't see a single drop of water, but you will definitely see the evidence when your water bill suddenly goes through the roof. It's often the very first sign that the ground itself is fighting your home.
So let's move on to our second adversary. This one isn't hiding underground. Oh no, this is more like a ghost from the past, and it's lurking right there, inside the walls of millions of homes. For a ton of homes, especially any built between, say, the 60s and the 80s, the entire plumbing system is basically a ticking time bomb. The materials they used back then, cast iron for your drain lines, galvanized steel for your water lines, they all had an expected lifespan of about 40 to 50 years. Well, you do the math. For a whole lot of houses, that expiration date has already passed. And these old pipes, they don't just quietly give up. They fail in very specific and very messy ways. Cast iron drain pipes, they literally rot from the inside out. This leads to constant clogs, horrible smells, and eventually a total collapse. Meanwhile, your galvanized steel supply pipes are slowly choking themselves off over decades as mineral scale builds up on the inside. That's the number one reason why the shower in an older home has that sad, weak water pressure. Okay, so we've looked at the ground beneath us and the materials inside the walls, but there's a third front in this war. It's an attack from the air itself, the local climate, and even the chemistry of your water. In a place like Tucker, Georgia, it's really a multi-pronged assault. You've got the humid air, which speeds up rust on the outside of pipes. Then you've got the water itself, which is moderately hard, meaning it leaves behind those mineral deposits, that scale, on the inside. That sediment also settles in the bottom of your water heater, causing it to overheat and fail. And then, even though it doesn't happen often, when a rare deep freeze hits, any unprepared pipes can burst wide open.
And this brings up a really important point. Your house is always talking to you, if you know how to listen. Your water heater isn't supposed to make noise, so when you start to hear those popping or rumbling sounds, that's not normal. That's literally the sound of a thick layer of sediment at the bottom of the tank, trapping and boiling water, and slowly tearing your heater apart from the inside.
Okay, wow, that was a lot about the problems, I know. But the story absolutely does not end there. Technology has come a long, long way. And today, plumbers have a whole new arsenal of tools and materials designed specifically to fight back against these threats. This is where modern materials science is a total game changer. Instead of those vulnerable metal pipes, the new standard is all about modern polymers. PEX tubing, for instance, is flexible. It can expand a bit if it freezes, and it can handle shifting soil without cracking. Plus, it just doesn't corrode. And for drains, PVC pipes have totally replaced cast iron because they will never, ever rust or decay. Even something as basic as clearing a clog has been completely revolutionized. The old way was snaking, which is really just punching a small hole through the middle of the blockage. The modern way? Hydrojetting. This thing uses an insane jet of high-pressure water to scour the entire inside of the pipe, stripping away decades of grease and scale. It basically restores it to like-new condition. And the diagnostics? They're straight out of a sci-fi movie. Plumbers don't have to guess anymore. They can send a tiny video camera down your drains to see exactly what's wrong. They use electronic listening gear to pinpoint the exact location of a slab leak without having to jackhammer your whole floor. They can even replace your entire main sewer line without digging a giant trench across your beautiful yard. It's amazing stuff. So we've seen the enemies, and we've seen the modern weapons we can use to fight them. So what does this all mean for you in your home? Well, it all comes down to one thing: learning how to read the signals that your house is sending you. Think of this as your official decoder ring. Every one of these common annoyances you might be living with is actually a distress signal. That unexplained sky-high water bill, very likely a slab leak from that shifting soil we talked about. A weak shower, classic sign of pipe scale from hard water. If you're dealing with frequent clogs or sewer smells, odds are you've got corroding cast iron drains. And we all know what that rumbling water heater means now, right? When you boil it all down, the biggest lesson from our deep dive into Tucker, Georgia, is something that applies everywhere. Your home isn't just a box. It's in this dynamic, ongoing relationship with everything around it. The soil it's on, the humidity, how old its bones are. These aren't just background facts. They are active, major characters in the story of your home. And that really leads us to the final and most important question you should be asking yourself. After everything we've looked at today, from the dirt underground to the steel in the walls, what story are your pipes trying to tell you?